Hello and welcome to HCLTech's Red Ladder Conversations. HCLTech's Red Ladder is a unique platform that recognizes and celebrates women in leadership positions across industries who have contributed to business and to breaking down gender barriers. I'm Madhulika Ghosh, leading strategic initiatives in HCLTech, and will be moderating and hosting the discussion today. I have with me an esteemed panel of women leaders in technology, and through our conversations today, we will be exploring ideas, experiences, and learnings on the topic of empowered women, empower women. Today, amongst the Fortune 500 companies, around 15% of companies are led by women CEOs, and around 19% of senior executive level positions are held by women, despite around 45% of the workforce comprising of women. We are making progress, but we have a long way to go. Arpita, let's start with you. You've had a variety of experiences across industries and in geographies. Why do you think it is so important to have women in leadership positions?
First of all, thank you, Madhulika, for having me in this panel. Welcome all. I want to start with some statistics, right? Some pre-COVID or pre-pandemic statistics, and where are we today? So, right now, as far as women representation is concerned, we are faring quite good as compared to pre-COVID levels, right? And these are some of the statistics that I recently saw in some reports shared by Gartner. We are faring well. Our productivity has increased. Our representation in boardrooms and in leadership positions have increased. But on the flip side, we are burned, right? So talking about your question, why is it important to have the representation in the leadership? Because we represent those many faces across the different segments of a woman in technology, in HR, in different functions, to increase the diversity, to increase the inclusion, and provide the right place for the women to realize their talents, because most of the women are challenged right now because of the burnouts, because of family care, and also increasing expectations of the role, given that many of us are still have to manage hybrid roles with remote plus in office. So this is challenging, and we as leaders in our space, we have to make sure that we make the space more inclusive, and also give them challenges, at the same time support them with proper knowledge, proper training, proper skill set improvement, and also some very innovative hiring strategies that I've recently seen in many companies to get more women in the different roles across the value chain.
Thank you, Arpita, for your insights. Rachel, you have really kind of grown in the tech space, leading products and right now leading teams in product development and launching. Specifically, in your space, why do you think women need to be represented in the leadership positions?
Yeah, I think, being in R&D, innovation, and technology, having women represented in our workplaces is really important. It definitely brings a diverse skill set. It brings a diverse idea to how we are able to solve and create teams and solve these problems, right? So from an innovation perspective, I think that a lot of the employees here, they feel really comfortable coming up to me, talking to me about their ideas, knowing that I'm going to listen, that I'm going to be empathetic and support those ideas. Sometimes that's lacking in innovation, where people don't want to work together, or they have a tough time being able to communicate information to different team members, but having women inside of these leadership roles, what I found is I've been able to bring teams together, build very diverse teams, bring those opinions globally, and be able to really re-represent those ideas and communicate them back in a different way. So just the thought leadership is a little bit different coming from this particular perspective, and I enjoy really listening and bringing in more more opinions from the different skill sets that we're able to bring together. So I think just the diverse way of thinking, a different way of thinking, and the ability to be approachable has been one of the assets as being a female leader in this space.
Thank you, Rachelle. Communication across teams, especially, in large organizations, is actually, is the reason for, successfully enabling results for a large firm. Shuchi, in your role, I'm sure you work in leading a cross-section of teams on a day-to-day basis. Governance is a very large part of what you do. From your perspective, how do you think having women in leadership helps?
Firstly, I'll say definitely in the governance space, it is a challenging role overall because you're in a matrixed organization and you're trying to, be that partner, making people try and do the right thing when everyone else, in the organization is trying to run fast and get things done. So you kind of have to find that balance, right, of, making people do the right thing, but also run fast and not become like a bottleneck, right? Being a woman leader in that space makes it even more challenging because, mostly the other people in the leadership roles are men who are focused on that running fast. So it is definitely a challenge, but I think a lot of the ways we worked around it is, developing those relationships, making your voice heard and standing up for the right thing and not being, stepping down from what is the right thing to do. So it takes a while. I think getting the executive buy-in, which is, from our CTO, is critical. Once you have that buy-in and you have the support, then I think it makes it easier. It is a challenge, but, it is something that we have been able to achieve. The other thing I will say is that, it starts from the top. So if you want to promote women leadership, you need to have be leading by example. So what I mean by that is, companies need to start on pay equity is one thing, which at my company was one thing that we focused on, and we have 100% achieved that across genders and globally. So leading by example, doing that is one thing. The other thing is promoting inclusion and diversity is good, but again, you need to stand up to the data, be transparent on where you stand today, and then show progress on it year over year. So in our department, across the company, we've made that a metric that we stand by and we show it transparently and have been improving on it, year over year. And I'll tell you, in my organization, governance is one, vendor management is another, where I've seen mostly it's women. I just finished, completing the last role I had, and it turns out we have 6 out of 7 women. Not that, we were trying to go that way, but there's so much more talent in that space in women that it's really good to see that there's so many great women leaders out there that we can hire and make the IT organization more balanced.
Thank you, Shuchi. It's the most powerful thing is setting an inspiration by setting an example. Anna, in your role, you lead your region, and work with leaders in the firm, within the firm and outside. So how do you think you being in the leadership position contributes to the organization development? Why do you think it's important to have women as leaders?
Yeah, I believe in general, we cannot underestimate the capacity of women to be connected to their emotions and not also to multitask. It sounds, let's say, very basic, but we are used to it. We've been used to it for millennia, right? So for those things, I think going back to Arpita's comment on burnout, we are burnout. Everybody in the organization is burnout. But I believe that this contact with our emotions enables our teams to really feel supported. And I feel it and I see it with my team. The other thing is, I believe that we have a capacity to prioritize in the spot, right? If we see that we have so many things to do, as I'm sure that all your organizations are striving to obviously grow, but at the same time be more efficient, at the same time have the right talent, we need to be able to focus on all those things at the same time, right? When I talk about my regions, I believe that what I bring to value is definitely the diversity, right? I am from Latin America, so I am from another region, let's say, from the others that I have. I'm a woman, right? In a sector that has very little participation from women in general, or from diversity in general, right? And in general as well, the age gap, let's say, right? So a fresh perspective can also be very beneficial, let's say, to understand what are the trends, what is the people looking for, what is the workforce and the consumer looking for. So I believe that that is the value and, let's say, the benefit of having diversity in a team. It is diversity for me, guys, is not only women or men or gender or whatever. It's freshness on perspective, however it is.
Thank you, Anna. Phyllis, would you have any perspectives here?
I was just going to add on to Anna. It's just like, it's really the diversity of thought and getting numerous perspectives, not just from women, but you can go beyond gender, ethnicity, through the different regions. But then I think about capabilities, certain abilities, like accessibility as well. So I think we need to look across when we think about inclusion and diversity and get beyond gender and ethnicity and race, because there's so much talent out there to be tapped if we can give them the right venues and really processes to be successful.
It's interesting what you said, Phyllis, and that with that, I'll move on to the next topic, which is how do we close the gender gap, especially in emerging roles, and how can the tech sector lead the way? Would you have any insights here?
So, part of our, and it's not just my current organization, in past organizations, you really got to put the numbers out there. You've got to have real metrics so that you can measure your success. So it's not just talking about what you're doing, you want to actually see it in action. And so I've seen trends where, it's real important to build your pipeline internally. So if I start with the internal pipeline, what's your feeder pool, women into more senior positions? And what are we doing to develop those women in the pipeline, to retain them? I mean, we've talked about, burnout. We've talked a little bit about working hybrid. So it's not just so much about attraction, because many organizations, we can all attract the right people. It's but what are you going to do to give those folks a sense of belonging and really help develop them and understand their career path. When we look at the external, when we want to bring in folks externally, again, once you bring them in the door in this hybrid environment, how do you give them a sense of belonging and really being included in certain conversations and finding ways for them to be sponsored, for them to be mentored. But even before we bring them in, I think it's critical that we understand our diverse slates, right? And be very deliberate and intentional in the people that we are hiring, and making sure, and it's not so much just looking at resumes of women, of men, where you're, that whole diversity of thought, different perspectives from different industries, but who's in your final slate, right? Making sure that your final slate is diverse and making sure your interviewers are diverse. And if you truly have it like an ID and COE, include them in your interviews, right? Because I find more and more when I interview candidates, especially women, they ask about the diversity programs, they ask about wellness programs, because they want to bring their whole self to work. And they want to be able, I think, to be real role models and tell folks it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to say no. It's okay to say, hey, I can take that on. I may only have 7 out of those 10 experiences, but I can do it. It would be a stretch. So I think there's a number of ways to drive it.
Thank you, Phyllis. Rachel, would you have any perspectives? Now more and more we have emerging roles in AI, ML coming up. How do we, encourage more women to inspire to join these roles, as well as move them up the ladder in leadership positions in tech?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with Phyllis on how she talked through the process of putting the numbers out there first, right? Like when we have town halls in the technology space, I mean, our CTO puts the numbers out there, right? We're lucky enough that, with diversity and inclusion within the company, it is at the forefront of everyone's mind when looking into these technology roles, and how, in my space, it's about the end state of that specific user or the user of the software, and knowing that some of those users, or the majority of the users of things that we're building inside of our disparate spaces have been female. I mean, it makes a lot of sense to bring that perspective in. So at the moment when I turned into a manager, I was very deliberate, very conscious of knowing how I would build my organization. I would always look at, the right candidate to make sure that we were building and bringing in talent that was willing and was open to communication and diversity, and understanding that that brings a uniqueness to the products that we build in technology. And again, bringing it back to the users that actually use our products, it's important to be able to bring that value there. And who better to bring that value than someone that has that same perspective, or that idea, or that notion of that experience, and bring that to the table. So, as we turn into leaders and grow into our careers, we have to consciously make an effort to bring those people to the table and continuously improve that. So a lot of what Phyllis said, I completely agree with, and it's things that you have to really put in the forefront of your own initial initiatives as you grow into leadership. As I moved into larger roles, it definitely became a lot harder to find talent. So you have to work with your people partners, with talent acquisition, and ensure that you're on the same page when looking for those right candidates, and not looking so closely into what we currently have and the skill sets that we're so used to, but, really finding the right talent, the right descriptions, and understanding what is the end state of that experience that you want to create inside of the products that we're building. Who are those users, and what's the right pool of people to be able to create, success in that product. So, I think that it's up to all of us to really be conscious of these numbers, and to understand how we can continually contribute to that and continuously improve the environment, knowing how, we've been able to work through the organizations today, and making sure we, look at that next person coming in and make them comfortable, and seeing that there's a future in leadership as a female.
Thank you, Rachel. Shuchi, do you have any perspectives here?
Yeah, I totally align with what Phyllis said and Rachelle. So again, leading by example is for sure, set the metrics, be transparent, put your numbers out there, continue to show progress. And again, it's not about diversity, just gender, like they said. You have to bring in overall diversity in perspective and ideas. And I think part of the reason women leadership is also so important is because they do bring in that diverse perspective, like a lot of cultures do, and the women do too. Also, I think women are very influential consumers, as we know, right? Women are consumers of a lot of products that men are not. So bringing in their perspective as a consumer also really helps with that executive strategic planning, having women at the top. So I feel like women really need to be at the top, providing that value in the thought leadership. I will say that I have seen, like, as we bring in more people, hire more people, starting with the interns, I have seen in the IT space that a lot of women are coming through the STEM programs, a lot more interest around STEM recently, and that percentage has been growing. And definitely AI, or you can take it business, any other fields from that are tied to IT, I've seen a lot more focus coming from women. Not that we're trying to hire women, but a lot more interest. So through the STEM programs, that, and the intent then is, how do you build their careers forward, right? Like the Phyllis said, is to build that internal programs to develop them. Mentorship, I think, is pretty critical, at least for the keep high performing women. I've seen, you can have mentors who are diverse is good, but sometimes having a women mentor turns out really good. It provides them that safe place where they can share their experiences, learn from the work-life balance issues, how women have been able to prioritize, and that really helps them, that to have that safe place where they can share that, figure out their experiences, and take it forward. So I think all those things, I think, are critical, and we've seen that, I think, slowly but surely across all industries now. Yep.
Arpita, thanks, Shuchi. Arpita, do you have any perspectives? Shuchi talked about mentorship and especially having women in a mentoring role can really be powerful. Do you think having a women as a mentor really helps? Does it need to be gendered?
Absolutely, Madhulika, and I completely align with all the speakers over here. And to Suchi's point, that women mentors are very powerful, and again, mentorship itself can actually give a lot of empowerment to women candidates and also to diverse candidates. Just to recognize their skills, their strength, and also how their skills and strength can align to the larger business goal or the enterprise outcomes, and give them the opportunity of number one, presentation, right? Improve their presentation skills. So many times women and also diverse candidates have great ideas and thoughts, especially in innovation, R&D, and technology, but communications are sometimes a challenge. So providing them those skill set, regularly coaching them, the support and engagement framework across the organization matters a lot. And it should be happening day to day, right? For example, when we conduct our agile scrum meetings, we give a little bit more chance to those diverse candidates to come up and tell and to showcase what they have done. And again, in awards and recognition, if we as women leaders take enough initiatives to showcase these diverse talents, that makes a lot of difference. That encourages the talent pool. And again, during the talent acquisition, sometimes I have seen that when there are challenges in terms of matrix organization, or moving goals, or environments in flux, women really do great jobs. Really, when we do the segmentation around talent, we should be able to understand that how the different requirements of the role fit into the different nature of the candidates. And again, what Phyllis mentioned and what Rachel mentioned, sometimes the candidate role is just 70% of their exact capacity. So I have changed multiple roles, and most of the times when I got into these roles, I never imagined that I could I would be wearing so many hats and taking on more responsibilities. It just win-win. So if we are able to provide that right opportunity, the right framework, the right environment with processes and people in help, I think we can do a great job.
Absolutely, Arpita. I think you touched upon a point that repeatedly research has shown that women tend to underestimate their ability and they want to meet 100% of the job requirements, whereas with men it's not the case, in which case the mentorship and the guidance really helps. Phyllis, in your long career, have you had instances where you have really kind of mentored women and provided support in promoting women in your organization? If you can describe, what was the situation and how you enabled, the success of women in your organization.
So great question, and I'll go back to some of the things that Arpita said and Shuchi said, because I think women mentors do provide a safe place, and I've experienced this with a lot of early talent, even what I would say, even experienced talent, where women will somebody will come into my office and say, I meet like 5 out of 10. I'm like, okay. I said, so you should be able to draw on those experiences and then talk about where you believe you don't have the 5. You can still comment on what you believe you can do, or kind of figure out what they would need just based on what you know. So I said, don't look at it just 5, look at all 10 and be really firm on what you've delivered, and then on the others, what your capabilities are to deliver that. I also think it goes back to something that Arpita said, having that safe space and giving folks women the opportunity to communicate. I also think it gives women an opportunity to build their confidence. So I like to do a lot of role playing and just work with women to figure out, how would you strategize and handle those situations. And most of the time it just comes from, they know the answer, but they're afraid to use their voice. And, because half the time you'll say, well, you knew the answer, but why didn't you say it? Well, I was afraid to speak up. I wasn't comfortable. I didn't know how people would see it. And then they attend these meetings and everybody else is saying it. So it's giving them the confidence and knowing, hey, if you say something and it's not exactly right, that's okay, right? The floor is not going to swallow you up whole. You're not going to disappear, right? It helps to start other conversations. So I think mentoring helps with confidence. I think it helps women feel empowered. I mean, in some cases, early on in my career, somebody wanted to try something very different, and leave the organization to try something new. And I said, what's the worst thing that could happen? You don't like it. It's not the right fit. So you come back and you try something new, but you'll have regrets if you don't go out there and do it. And you've just given me all the reasons why you can't. So now give me all the reasons why you can. And that's what she needed. And ended up, going on to being a CEO of a small organization about 20 years later. So it's just building confidence and figuring out what your game plan is.
Thank you, Phyllis. Are there any other experiences anyone can share in that you can recollect how mentorship or you helping women in your careers in promoting them?
Well, I think also mentoring men is an interesting avenue, right? And, being able to show your leadership style and giving that value to not only women, but men, to increase their perspective and how you've become a leader and how you enhance their experiences as well. That's something to add. As female leaders, also looking to mentor men to create that experience for them, I thought was an interesting time in my career when I did mentor a few males inside of the organization. I was given male mentors, which kind of took me aback, and I said, wouldn't you want me to spend my time with other women and mentoring women? They said, no, I think, giving that perspective to some of the up and coming, male leaders that may need to diversify their experiences, that's a great way for you to mentor as well. So
That's a great perspective. Anna, what advice would you give to the next generation of female leaders in their early years of their career?
Yeah, definitely would be to approach their leaders to understand and kind of bounce some thoughts about the opportunities that we may have, right? I think that my career would not be the same if I didn't have these mentors, men and women alike, just to try and understand what opportunities would I have. I believe that sometimes women keep in, or men, like literally people, stay in roles for many, many years just because they're either afraid to ask or they believe that they don't have a chance or a shot at, I don't know, applying for a role or even taking an experience. Sometimes it's not about just changing anything out of nothing, right? Sometimes it's just about taking a temporary assignment, looking for I don't know, advice in another area of the organization. I remember last year a girl that I enjoyed a lot working with. She approached me, asked me for mentorship. She was very early in her career, like a junior analyst. And she said she wanted to do something else. She didn't exactly know what. So we worked together. We I coached her like in some maybe activities that she could do. She said, you know what, I'm looking for an experience that is more challenging for me. And I love that because she was very much, when we started talking, she understood that she wanted to grow her career. Before that, she thought that she was going to be a project manager all her life. And now she's in a commercial area, nothing to be with whatever she started working on, learning something new, developing in a new area. So I think it's about just reaching out, asking questions, and then hearing feedback, asking for feedback, and just asking yourself, what do you want to do? How do you want to challenge yourself? As Phyllis said, the worst thing that can happen is that you return to do what you already know how to do very well, right? So it's about just taking a challenge and taking a leap of faith.
Thank you, Anna, for sharing your experiences. So, Shuchi, would you have any perspectives here? What advice would you give to young women?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is you need to be your own advocate, right? Yeah, people can be your advocates, but you need to stand up for yourself and be that, the person out there. I know it takes a while to build that confidence, and mentorship and other things can help, but you have to be your advocate. You have to be able to stand up in front of, your managers or leaders. If there's opportunities out there, you need to be out there to seize them, right? They're going to be there. If you're shy, they're going to be gone. So I've seen that in my own experiences that, you always have to stand up and say, yes, I can do it. I'm ready for this challenge. I don't know this skill. I'm ready to learn. And, that's going to be my career forward is if I learn and I grow. So having that mindset and having people in your organization know that it doesn't matter what I know, I am here to grow and learn. And, I will always take the challenge and the next opportunity. Then something comes along, they will always think about you, knowing that, yeah, this person can do whatever. She's shown us that she's taken this challenge. It's not probably tied to what she knows, but she's open to it and we've seen it. I think that has really, in my career, I started doing something and I've do completely different things than what I've done in the past. And that's what I tell, the people I mentor is that just be open to that, be your advocate, sell yourself, be open to it, and be open to these growth opportunities. The other thing is, feedback. Like when you get feedback from people, I think that is a very constructive way of learning and improving. So take that feedback, embrace it, and then see how can I improve and move to be a better leader in the future. So I think those things are what worked for me, and I always give that same advice to people, especially as a woman. You have to be out there asking for it. Sometimes it's not easy. It's not going to come your way till you put yourself out there.
Thank you, Shuchi. That's great advice. Arpita, as we come to the conclusion of the call, would you have any advice for women in the start of their career?
Yeah, can't agree more with Suchi, especially the women who are starting their career, not to put them on spot, but try to find those high profile projects. Even though your skill sets might not fit the expectations or the capabilities that are expected out of those projects and programs, but look for those high profile projects. Be yourself. Advocates that Suchi mentioned, be an evangelist in the room, right? You sell yourself, be that salesperson. If you are part of that IT or innovation or technology team, people should look up to you as that you are the evangelist of not only yourself but also the team, the product, the platform, the project, and also the entire team that you represent. Another thing which I found it has been very productive is look for people, like-minded people, and maybe grab them for lunch and learns. Spend some time together. These cohorts are actually budding spaces of great ideas. What has worked with me, if I share with Suchi, and what has worked with Suchi and Anna and Rachel might work with me in future. So learn from the experiences. Try to spend time and look for people who are outside your immediate realm. For example, if you're in R&D, look for commercial people. How do they manage their day-to-day challenges? How do they manage their calendars? That's very exciting to know, especially from the leaders. And again, what Shuchi has mentioned, and many of our women leaders in the room have mentioned, Phyllis had mentioned that the feedback loop should be always active. Have those feedback, take it positively, take it in a constructive way. So many times it might hurt your morale for some time, but then just take it in a positive stride, and keep on improving. It's just the agile way of thinking, and bring that as your in your mindset to continuously grow, or improve and iterate, and bring the best version of yourself in a day-to-day life, whether it's at your homes, whether it's in your career, whether it's in the outer space, and just believe in yourself and whatever you have done so far.
Phyllis, Arpita, Rachel, Anna, and Shuchi, thank you so much for sharing your experience, giving your advice. I am sure those who are listening to it will gain a lot and apply it in their day-to-day work lives. Thank you so much and have a nice day.
Thank you,
Thank
Madhulika.
you.
Thanks all. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.